No, I started playing just some acoustic stuff for friends and hanging out, and played my first live show, I guess you'd call it, at Lake Teocata in Louisville, and just pretty much wanted to just play acoustic stuff, just hang out, make a little money, see people, and just progressively got more in depth, I guess, involved. And somehow, luckily, these guys wasn't playing, so they had ended what they were doing. So we got together, and it just worked. How did we get together?
How did we get together? That's a good story.
That's a lot of story, though.
Yeah. How'd you
That's a
get
good
together?
story, though.
Well, I started out, it was me and my dad, and then I knew at that point that I wanted to have a full band just for more sound. And I think Dad contacted you, Danny.
Yeah, he called about filling in for a like a Halloween show.
Yeah,
It was just a show, and wanted me to come fill in. And I came and rehearsed and practiced, and I was like, "Hey, mind if I bring a guitar player? I'll bring old Bo with me."
Yeah.
And y'all didn't care, so I called Bo, brought him on.
I actually called Bo after I got done talking to you. I called Bo. I was working in Eupora at a night job I was doing, and I was thinking about it the whole time, and I was just like, man, I need to call him up, see what he's got going on, which I didn't know that he had talked to Danny at that point. And he was like, oh, yeah, man, I'll do it. And I was like, yeah. I've swung Bo into the country scene. But he had already talked to Danny, so. And then we were all vibing really good. Everything was going smooth, but I knew at that point how good we were going and how good we sounded, that I wanted to get somebody that was more our age and more that just fit with the band a little bit better. So Danny,
On bass.
yeah, on bass, and Danny ended up contacting Mikhail. At that point, we had played a couple gigs, so Mikhail's been with us
Pretty much.
the whole time, the entire time. I mean, we literally built the show back, a brand new show, so it's been us four ever since, just pounding the pavement, playing every little hole in the wall we could go to.
What kind of response have y'all seen so far? I mean, I know that you got in on the tin roof scene and stuff, but I mean, what kind of response are you seeing at shows?
Well, whenever we first started out, like a lot of bands would that doesn't have a big name out, stuff like that, we'd have some stragglers come in, and it was the same response every single time. Man, y'all shouldn't be playing here. Y'all should be playing other places. And I'd always say, well, we're building a following right now. We're just trying to build up our sound. And our sound speaks for itself, I think, and it's built us up to where we are getting in the bigger places now, and people are starting to take notice, and we're going to start writing some more original songs and put them in there, and because the ones that we have now, they're liking so far, so it's
Putting a lot of time aside
yeah.
for recording.
Yeah.
You know.
It takes a lot of time to get to this point, but the reward that you get for all the time that you put in makes it that much sweeter in the end,
You've got a bluesy, soulful type voice, and now you've got rockers behind you, two rockers for sure, I know. But what would be your influences first, and then we'll go to, let's see how different.
Whenever I was little, my dad would drive me to school every morning in a Eldorado Cadillac, and he had a Collective Soul CD in there. I think it was like the 7-year itch, and every morning we would listen to that CD from home to school, and I had the coolest rock songs on there picked out that I liked, and we listened to 99.9, but on the flip side, I was really into George Jones, Merle Haggard, Waylon Jennings. I just liked the countryside because I love steel guitar, So that was my biggest mental challenge, was me knowing the style music I liked and the style music that I think would sell, convincing 3 rock and roll players to play country. So mine would be definitely more country oriented, but I'm kind of getting pushed into the rock and roll direction, which I like. Now, I'm not bad mouthing it.
Oh, what about you? What would be your influences?
Oh, I grew up listening to classic rock, man. 70s rock's where I live. It was AC/DC and Ted Nugent and Bowie, Alice Cooper, all that stuff. Big guitar heavy, arena rock.
Nice. Danny, I thought I knew, but I may not know. Which?
Man, I really grew up country too. I mean, mostly country. Classic rock too. A lot of 80s rock, 70s and 80s rock. AC/DC for sure AC/DC. But mostly 90s country. I mean, 90s country is just, that's my roots for sure.
Mikhail, what about you?
Man, so my influences are also going to come from classic rock and the songs that just have a driving bass line behind it. But I've here recently gotten into Texas blues style bass lines and things like that. And to me, for example, one of the ones I look up to is Tommy Shannon, which is bass player for Steve Ray Vaughan. And to be able to run that as a trio at some point, and they eventually got the piano player, but to be able to
Hold it with all, yeah.
hold up Stevie Ray Vaughan as he's doing his thing within that in itself is amazing. So to be able to do, be able to play blues shuffles and just things like that, and for me, that's just kind of where I draw my inspiration.
What are the goals? And where do you want to try to go with it? Or are you just wanting to have a good time and keep just make a little extra cash?
Well, it started out, I think my mindset was there, is to just jam and, just make a little extra money, but it's turned into a more of a business side of the things that I personally don't think about, but like Mikhail does all the social media. Danny's booking, Bo's also booking. So as far as where we're going, I think we'll go as far as we can, and as high as we can fly, I guess, just because we've made it to this point. So it just makes I'm very curious by nature. So I wonder 6 months where will, the door open that we go to from there. So I'm all for just letting it roll. I mean, and as far as keeping the band together, I think you've got to, number one, be friends and know each other, know what buttons to push and not to push. And I think we've got a super good working relationship and friend relationship to where if one's down, you're not getting kicked and all that kind of stuff. So friendship, number one, is the main goal. And just hanging out, enjoying what you do, because that's going to translate on stage all day long. If you're in a bad mood because you're into it with a guy, you're not going to play as well maybe, or it's not good for anybody. The promoters, the booking, the fans watching. So we try to keep everything light, keep it fun. We jab at each other, but that's what guys do, So I don't see any problems there.
Stage is a getaway too, man.
Yeah, big time.
Get on the stage and you're just vibing, man.
Yeah.
It's just any problem that there ever was just goes away.
Yeah, that's very true. I've been in just a terrible mood before, and just having my mind like, man, this is not going to be a good show. And get up here, and I see them three just hammering it out, and I'm like, and I get up here and I catch my foot starting to tap a little bit. 3 or 4 songs in, we're just jamming at that point, just having a good time.